Aloha.
Good afternoon and aloha to all you CCHers out there and BYU Hawaii alumni from around the world. We welcome you to the 52nd Alumni Podcast. From the Ho'okele Department, I'm Elder Bobby Akoi, serving as a university chaplain, and seated on my right-hand side is the lovely Lei Cummings from the Alumni Office. Thanks for being our co-host for today, Lei.
Mahalo, Bobby.
We thank you for tuning in this afternoon. You are in store for an amazing experience for the next hour. The purpose of these podcasts is to introduce our alumni to share their stories with us. Also, we are looking at your comments. So as you chime in, if you have any questions, just type it in and we'll try to address all of the comments. Before we start, we have some announcements to make, and I'll turn the time over to Lei.
Yes, thank you so much, Bobby. It's great to have you hosting today. Some of our comments or announcements today are this upcoming podcast on Monday. We have Elder and Sister McCarty, missionaries here in the Ho'okele Department, who take care of and teach our on-campus internship classes. They're going to be on our podcast, and they have been here for the last few years, and we'll be saying goodbye to them shortly thereafter. That'll be on Monday, the 18th at 3 p.m. And then on Friday, our next week's podcast will be with an alumnus, Api Tora from Fiji. He will be featured on our podcast then. And also, this is a special week for our BYU Hawaii Ohana. Graduation is tomorrow, and we want to congratulate all of our winter graduates and wish them very well. Graduation will take place on Saturday, the 16th, and at 9:30 a.m. Join us live for that event on the BYU YouTube channel.
Thank you, Lei. So we've been looking forward to this podcast for months, haven't we, Lei?
Yes.
And we finally are blessed to have him with us today. So just a brief introduction on him, because he's such a humble guy, he won't even mention the things I'm going to say. So he'll just have to listen to it. So he came on campus under the same semester I came in 1972 in the fall. And she was just 1 month off of his mission. And he was asked as a student, and he was a second semester freshman, to direct Showcase Hawaii. Now, for those of you that don't know about Showcase Hawaii, it's an entertainment group that promotes the school and promotes the mission of the Honolulu mission and the church as well. And we'll hear about that later. But as a student, this is what amazes me. As a student, he was running and directing this Showcase Hawaii group. He graduated. And he's not going to tell you this, but I will. He was our valedictorian for the school the year he graduated, and then went on to be an adjunct faculty here for a year, and also, teaching music besides directing Showcase Hawaii. Then he went off to BYU to work on his postgraduate work, and was a director of the Young Ambassadors group there, including the Lemonite Generation. So he just retired last year as Associate Dean of the Fine Arts and Communication Division. And I don't think anybody knows this, but I want to share this. In the year 2000, BYU Hawaii recognized Randy as the Distinguished Alumni Service Award recipient. And so without further ado, we're going to bring on this gifted and talented and world traveler, Randy Boothe.
Yay! Aloha, Randy.
Aloha.
Aloha, Randy.
So nice to see you folks. And I'm embarrassed with all of that introduction. I was just a student at CCH, and then lucky to be there when we made the transition in 1974 to BYU Hawaii. And it has been one of the greatest experiences of my life. It has influenced everything that I've done. I mean, now that I can look back on my career, having retired last year, it's just amazing how that experience was just key. It was right at the foundation of my entire life, traveling around the world to 45 different countries and teaching in many of those different countries, and being able to work with students throughout my career at BYU Provo in the same way that I was privileged to practice with my good friends at CCH as a second semester freshman. Are you kidding me? I cannot believe, what were they thinking when they decided to come and get this Howley from the mainland just offered permission to come over and put together a show. But I'm sure glad that they trusted me, because it was a key turning point in my life and prepared me for everything that I've done. I'm so grateful.
And I know it was tough, because I was with you that semester, that year, and I know it was tough for a student to do this, but you did it, Randy, and you really have an amazing story to share with us today, and that we're looking forward to it. So we want you to tell us your story, how you got here, and how much the school has impacted you and has helped you throughout your career.
I would love to. Thank you so much for this opportunity. There I am on my graduation day. I'm excited for all of the new BYU Hawaii graduates that will be celebrating on Saturday. It was a fantastic day for me. And the 4 years that I was privileged to spend there were some of the very best years of my life. I only planned to come over for 1 year. I was invited by President Brower's assistant for public affairs, Norm Nielsen, to come and help organize this show that I think he had been doing as a second job. And so they gave me a scholarship and said, come over and put together a show. We've got to get to all of the high schools in the islands and let people know that we've got a really great thing going here at CCH. And at the time, I think we had about maybe 800-900 students. And after about another couple of years, we had 1,200 students. And I'm not even sure, how many students do we have today?
Just under 3,000.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
We were there with just a handful, and it was such a great place to get an education. We knew that we had to get the word out to all of the islands. And so it just kind of makes me tired thinking about the number of shows that we did in those days. I was lucky to have some friends from BYU Provo come on over, Dan Wilson, Mary Louise Woolsey, Rich Hill, and together we auditioned and came up with our first Showcase Hawaii group. Look at those faces. I mean, they are amazing. I happen to see Bobby. Right. We've got Joe Ahuna right there in the middle. We've got Deborah Tiwanak. We've got, Linda Tang, and there's Susie Pitton and Brian Borsella back there on the very back on the right side. I mean, so many wonderful friends, and they were amazing. Not only did they have to do a good show, we were challenged by the president then, President Stephen Brower, that he wanted more than entertainment. He wanted a show that would showcase family values and gospel principles and the brotherhood of man. And so we did just that. And in 1 year, 1 school year, we did 88 shows, reaching 33,000 people. And that wasn't on any international tour. That was really hoofing it up and down the island and flying over to the Big Island and to Molokai and Kauai and performing in every school that we could possibly get into. And as a result, people started to recognize, there's something going on over there at that school. And I mean, look at those faces. You can't possibly look at those faces and just not know that there is something really good happening there.
Look at that face.
I am feeling just tired. I think they caught me in that shot when I was taking a nap on the van as we were going from one school to the next. It was really kind of a crazy thing to be traveling that much and doing that many performances. One of our greatest things that we did was firesides. As we would go to different communities, we would go to the chapel and gather with the saints and do a fireside and sing some of our favorite songs. I'm a Child of God was certainly one of our favorites, and we'd sing it in all different languages, representing all of the people that we had on the cast that particular year. And there was a spiritual commitment. We wanted everybody to read their scriptures every day. I mean, of course, we've always wanted that, but we kind of really motivated each other, didn't we, Bobby? We really talked a lot about that spiritual preparation, the academic preparation. In order to tour, you had to keep your grades up. And there was a strong commitment of unity with one another. You might notice there in that particular photo, third from the left there on the back, wearing the black Mandarin collar shirt. There's my old roommate, John Coway, President Coway's dad. And we
Oh,
miss him. He's such a good friend. He was there. There's Bali Taginoa and Kurt Hussey and who else have we got in
my
there?
cousin Nell Lee.
Yes.
Yes,
Buffy,
right.
not Lee Murray.
Buffy. Yeah, Buffy Murray, Nelinette.
Yeah.
And we had, let's see, there's Kevin Nako and Roman Gania. Oh, there's Scotia. There's Marilyn Anzai, Ewan. They're on the right side.
Is that Renee Ahuna in the middle? Top?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it is. It is.
You
And
know?
then down in the front is Mele, Mariana Sibbett.
That's right. And her husband right above.
Yep, exactly. There's Jim right there above. Anyway, such great people, so many great friends. And traveling with those friends, it was just amazing to see how they would step forward and become leaders. CCH was committed to building student leaders. I was actually called, if you can imagine, to serve as the student body president, CCHSA president. It was a church calling. I was called by President Mailo of the stake, the Laia stake. And we were taught by then President Dallin Oaks, who came over and instructed us on principles of leadership and how we were supposed to. It was kind of an experiment in international church leadership. It was part of what they called the Melchizedek priesthood, MIA. And so all of our student leaders were callings, and it kind of lifted our efforts to have fun activities and to reach out and involve and include all of the students from all over the Pacific Basin and Asian Rim in service opportunities and in friendshiping kinds of experiences that really built a strong core of Ohana there at CCH. And the very next year in was that 74, I think, that we became BYU Hawaii.
Yes, that's right.
And it was really, I think it was not only a melting pot, but it was a place where people would come thinking they were just going to go to school and discover that they were going to prepare for a lifetime of service. And it was awesome. We had a chance to go on a big tour. And in the early days, all of the BYU tours, whether it was BYU Provo or here in Hawaii, were usually sponsored by the Department of Defense, because we were providing entertainment for American servicemen all over Europe, all over the Pacific Basin. And so you can see there that first tour that we took to Korea, Japan, Thailand, Taiwan, Okinawa, Johnson Island. There were 15 of us on that tour, and that photograph is actually taken on Okinawa, or is it Guam? One of those two. I'll have to think for a minute. It's been quite a few years ago. I think it was 74. I can see Kevin Kahanui there, Bali's there, Rich Hill's right there in the middle, Bruce Bosler. Really a great group. Dunn Shimai, Rita Dunn, who was a Japanese major, taught at the LTM and was studying.
Sitting down on the left-hand side, Dan Wilson, from the right on the top.
Yeah, so many great friends. That tour was just amazing. And we had the opportunity to perform for the church on our days off. So we do shows all throughout the week for servicemen. Sometimes we would get on a helicopter in the morning and we would just like MASH, we would fly in 2 or 3 helicopters and they would drop down on the top of these hillsides. A truck would pick us up, drive us down the dusty road to a big hillside where all the servicemen were sitting waiting for us to arrive, and we just actually perform on the back of a truck as kind of the stage, and we sang and danced. And of course, the American servicemen were especially excited to see the young women. They weren't particularly that interested in the guys, although we did some great numbers, but we were mostly supporting these wonderful girls with their smiles and with their friendship. And we made a lot of GIs and their families very happy during a time that they were far away from their loved ones and far away from home. We had a great experience when we were in the Philippines on that first tour. We actually were invited on the one day that we were able to do some performances for the church to do a television performance that reached national television and a live audience in 2 shows of 6,000 plus. And this was all organized by the Manila Mission and President Ray Goodson of that mission. And he wrote to President Dan Anderson of BYU Hawaii after that and said, I'm going to read a little quote from his letter. "We were able to arrange for an appearance on TV as well as a live performance attended by over 6,000. From the live performance alone, we obtained referral cards for over 2,500 families in the Manila area." Of course, this was the heyday of the Philippines, kind of like Japan in the early 70s after Expo 70. Church membership was just skyrocketing. And President Goodson said to President Anderson as he finished up the letter, "I'd estimate that 300 baptisms will be realized through the exposure of our people to showcase Hawaii."
Wow.
And, you know, that kind of opportunity doesn't happen just because you got some good dancers and singers. We had some committed Latter-day Saints. These young students representing many different parts of the world did such a great job of bearing their testimony, not in words, but through their countenance, through the light that was very clearly seen. Then we had this great tour, the second year, where we were able to go on to many of the same places, and then in addition, a couple of other Pacific Basin things. And we went to the middle of the Indian Ocean to Diego Garcia and performed for the people that were there for their military assignment. And so this was another group. This was a little smaller. We were only able to take 10. You can see Herbie Ewan there. And we've got, Christy Durama from the Philippines. And Linda Tang is still, Joel Nakila and Connie.
And your brother, Steve.
Oh, yeah, my brother Steve is there on the left. And that was just a really fun group. Because it was smaller, they took us to more remote areas, and we were able to do a lot of performing in hospitals and military hospitals, and lift the spirits of a lot of people that were in a pretty tough condition. So we felt the mission. There was no question in our minds why we were there. This was not just a fun chance to see the world. We were there with a responsibility to share what we knew to be true. And it was a great blessing, I think, in all of our lives. The next year, we went to the Big Island on a tour, and we were getting ready to perform at Hilo County Fair. And of course, Bobby's mom is in the audience already saving seats. And we pull up in the bus, and we're hurrying to get all the equipment off the bus. And BJ Rowley, who was our Indian hoop dancer that came over from Provo, Utah, and danced with us. And he and Bobby were the first ones to always help get us set up. And so they were right there opening up the undercarriage of the bus. And we were trying to get this car moved because we couldn't actually get our equipment out of the bus. There were these big speakers and drums and costume boxes and all of these different things. And it was hard to get him out. So we're concentrating on getting this car out of the way. And Bobby is opening up the luggage compartment. And I hear this big thud and bang. And I turn around and the luggage compartment door has fallen down. It wasn't latched properly, I guess, and hit Bobby in the head. And he's holding his ear. And when he lifts his hand away, there's a lot of blood, I'm telling you. And so I'm ripping off the bottom of my shirt tail to get a piece of cloth to put on there to stop the bleeding. And Bobby, and then I'm taking him, because it was a county fair, there happened to be a nurse station right behind the bus. I couldn't believe it. It was just right there. So I take him over there. And then I go get his mother, who is there saving seats. And I say, hey, can you come here and take care of your son? I got to get things set up. No, I recognized at that point that there was something missing on the side of his head. And so I went running back, and right there on the ground below the door there on the side, the luggage compartment door, was a piece of Bobby's ear.
Oh.
Sorry, folks. But it's,
Yeah.
Wow.
and so I picked it up and I put it in a little plastic baggie that I had, and I took it in there to his mom, and I said, you probably need to take this over to the hospital so they can get it ready, because we're going to get an ambulance and get him over there so they can sew his ear back on. It wasn't the whole ear, but it was a good old chunk of it. And bless his heart, he just was a trooper. Of course, the show had to go on. I sent his mom and his grandpa to go and take care of Bobby at the hospital. We set up the rest of the thing. We had a quick rehearsal backstage and said, okay, you got to do this thing for Bobby. You got to be him on this. Everybody's filling in, and we did the show. And in the meantime, he's over there getting it sewn back on, knowing that he was going to be able to visit plastic surgeon back in Honolulu when we got back the next week. And we were worried about insurance. Do we have insurance coverage? It was one of those crazy moments. And there were lots of them through the years. There's definitely opposition in all things, right? And because we were involved in an important work and we were trying so hard to do it the way the Lord wanted us to,
I can't believe how detailed you are in explaining what happened, because it was so crazy at that time, and all I could think of was, I was really arrogant. I was thinking of myself, because I was thinking, how am I going to look without an ear? And
it's pretty scary when you don't have an ear and you've always had one. I totally understand, Bobby. I was pretty concerned too. I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh. Here's my best pal, and he is going to be earless. We have got to get this ear put back on. The minute the show's over, I am rushing over to the hospital to see what they're doing. And the doctor had already sewn it back on. And he said, it was about 1.5 inches long. And it was about, I'd say, what, Bobby? Almost 1/2 inch width. It was just sliced off the back side. Which ear was it?
My right here.
Right ear.
You guys can see it, but it looks deformed, all right. It did not. The surgeon tried to do his best, but it just wouldn't take. And so it just kind of fell off. So I just had a deformed ear after that.
You can't tell in that.
Well, you never see it. Of course, looking in that picture, you can see the hair covered up the ear just fine.
Right.
Wow.
And I had to cover up my ear because I didn't want anybody to see my deformed ear.
I can't tell now. I can't tell.
So who is going to notice that with that ear-to-ear smile is what I want to know. Well, that was one of the great experiences. And we had so many fabulous experiences with Showcase Hawaii. The friends that I was privileged to meet there have been lifelong friends. And every Christmas, I'm thrilled to hear from them and to be able to get caught up on their children and their grandchildren. I mean, can you imagine? Where did the time go? How is it that we all have grandkids, and that our kids are actually already graduated from college? And it just seems like last month we were on Big Island and doing a show at the Hilo County Fair. Crazy.
Hey, Randy, we have some friends here, right?
Yes,
Are
we
you
have
kidding
some
me?
friends that wanted just to say hi to you.
Oh my gosh, look at this.
Brian Barcella, Marilyn, you and
Fox.
Fox.
So good to see you.
Wow. Hi,
How
everyone.
fun. Now, Brian, I know you're in Idaho. Marilyn, are you still in Maui?
Yes,
Great.
we are.
And Christy, are you in Las Vegas or are you up in Utah?
I'm in Henderson, Nevada.
Okay, great. Terrific. Well, you've got 3 of our star Showcase Hawaii performers right here.
That's right.
Well, of course.
I could probably just go right to the piano behind me and start playing, and they'll start singing. They know how to take their cue from the piano intro, right, folks?
And they know how to sparkle.
Yeah, they do. They still sparkle, that's for sure.
Oh, I love it.
I think you guys look awesome. You don't look like you are older.
No.
Well, Brian's hair is a little different color than it was. I have to admit. But you honestly, look at those 2 girls. They could easily put on their Showcase Hawaii dresses and step up on stage right now and not look a bit different than they did. And that was at least 15 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
More than that. But but they wear makeup too, Randy.
I can't believe it. I mean, you guys, this was in the 1970s. Hello. It's just crazy.
Yep.
It could be that many years, and yet it seems like we were just together yesterday. And the wonderful thing about being together in this mission that was laid out for us by our leaders, BYU and CCH, is that because we were laboring together in the Lord's cause, the relationships that we had then, we can pick them right back up today, and it seems like it was just nothing has changed. We're still the great friends. We still feel the love and the unity, and that's going to be ours eternally. There's no question about it. And I love that. It's such a wonderful thing. I can travel just about any place in the world and meet one of my students or 2 or 3 and see their children and their grandchildren and feel like, well, we were just rehearsing last month and it's been 40 years. I'm just going, this is unbelievable. How could I be 71 years old? And how did, what was I then? I was 21 years old when I started as the Showcase Hawaii director.
And Randy, it seemed like you were old.
I know.
Back then.
It was all an act. I was just trying to convince you guys that I really could be your director. No pressure.
Like they're 21.
Well,
it's so fun
Brian.
to see you guys.
Let's
Give me a quick update. Christy, how many kids you got?
I have 4 children, 15 grandchildren.
Wow.
Awesome.
All my 2 boys, 2 girls. Both boys have served missions. All my kids are married in the temple. I was going to say that when I joined Showcase Hawaii, it was my first semester, and I had just barely turned 19. And at the time, my testimony was really on the fence. I really had, I wasn't sure if this is where I needed to be. And selfishly, Showcase Hawaii really was more for me than for me giving anything to other people. It was really more for me because the idea of a forever family really made an impact. And prior to BYU Showcase, I actually had no ambition to get married or have children. I just
Isn't
want to have
that
fun.
exciting? Look at this. 15 grandchildren now.
15 grandchildren, and they're absolutely wonderful. And my husband, honey,
Hello.
my
Hi,
husband,
how you doing?
my husband was raised in a city called Manila
Mm,
in Pleasant Grove, Utah. And he
awesome.
married the Manila from Manila,
Isn't that awesome?
the real
Amazing.
Manila.
That is so
Oh, my-
great.
Also,
How
I wanted
fun.
to add, when you guys went to the Philippines, I was actually going to the University of the Philippines, and I actually got the University of the Philippines performing stage,
Uh-huh.
performing arts theater reserved for you. And that's where I met you, and you had me play the guitar.
I
And
remember.
that's when I actually wanted to go to Hawaii, because I had no desire to go to BYU Hawaii. So that
I'm so
changed my life.
glad that we met because you were supposed to be there.
I
You
know.
were.
I'm extremely grateful. Every day I'm very, very grateful.
That is so
Skoshi!
awesome. Hey, Coach, tell us quick, how many kids, how many grandkids?
I have 3 children, 2 sons, a daughter, and 13 grandkids. Chad is right there in Laie with his 6.
He's right here with us. He's working
right.
with us.
He's next door.
Awesome.
And then Mickey is there in American Fork with her 5.
Uh-huh.
And Sean has 2 in Provo. And we're
Awesome.
still here on Maui.
So
In fact, we
listen,
had
the
Brian.
next time you come to Utah, I better see you.
I know.
You've got these 2 kids right here, and we can at least go have some sushi or something.
Right now, my dad is living with me. He's 100 years old.
Oh, wow.
So taking care of him. I can't fly out yet. I really miss my grandkids. Years
I'm
ago, we
sure.
had Brian and his wife come over, and my son Chad and Cammie were in Maui, and Cammie had made the shrimp tacos, and Debbie and Brian were at our house.
It was wonderful.
And later on, I learned that you guys had served a mission at PCC. Is that right?
That's right.
And then one of our trips to Utah, when Mickey had moved back to Utah from Puhuku, her husband couldn't come with her. So I thought I was going to be the only one driving her from Vegas to Utah. But we ended up meeting Christy, and she made us blueberry pancakes for breakfast.
Come visit me.
You know.
Oh, isn't it fun? The friends that to make friends that many years ago, and to be able to just enjoy them through all these years, and even after decades have gone by. It's so thrilling. I'm so excited to hear about all of your grandkids and your sweet kids. 2 of them are right here, so I'm expecting sushi the next time you come.
And then we were happy at one of our trips, just Herb and I, we were able to see you on campus. I think it was a few years before you retired.
Yes, I remember.
That was really nice.
So nice for you to drop by. It was just great. And one time when I brought my family with our neighbors, the Takasakis, over to Maui, I'm telling you, Herbie and Skosh, they took care of us like crazy. And our kids still talk about that trip. That's when our kids were little. Now my kids have got teenagers. But so it was a long time ago. But it was escape to paradise for sure. So fun.
Awesome.
Brian, tell us about your kids and grandkids.
Real quick, I have 4 kids, 2 and 2, 14 grandchildren, all married. Well, our kids are married in the temple and been on missions. And I just wanted to say one thing, Randy, that I wanted to express to people who are watching also, is that BYU Hawaii and Showcase Hawaii changed my life. As you know, I was a non-member while performing in that group. And it was because of the family show and the good influence of the people that I was performing with and the college that I became a member of the church. That was back in 1972. And I wanted to thank you. See, here I go crying. And I call it my ugly cry because I know I cannot talk while I'm crying. I don't know how you sing and cry at the same time, Randy, but you did it very well. But
lots of practice. And I cried a lot.
Because back then I was with the group CCH show. What was it? CCH Showcase? I don't know what it was called back then with Dorm Nielsen. And I know I had to audition to get into Showcase Hawaii, and seeing you come, and you were very intimidating to a lot of
I was
here we
scared
are. We
already.
made it. We faked you out. and
Didn't I
everything.
ask you to be president of the group?
I don't think so. I wasn't your best friend like Bobby.
Oh, I don't believe it. I actually went to your house in Molokai.
Yes.
Your mom made me breakfast with spam and I mean, whoa, how much closer can you get?
I know.
Having your mama take
That was
care
that
of
was
me and feed
that
me.
was one of our best experiences with the people of Kalaupapa.
Wasn't
And
that
the
amazing?
sweet spirit, of our leper friends.
Can you
How
remember those
wonderful.
beautiful lays that those little ladies made with no fingers, just
With
little
no
stubs?
fingers.
And they made all of these beautiful lays. I mean, I still have mine. I take it out every once in a while and tell the story of those sweet,
Yep.
sweet people
Yep.
in Kalaupapa. Wow. Life-changing experiences for sure. No question about it. I'm
Hey,
so thrilled.
Randy, I'd like to ask these three, and I've never been in Showcase, but I'd like to ask them what was their favorite show, favorite area, favorite performance. What was that? Where was that? Bobby included in this question, and you too.
We'll start with you, Christy.
Yes.
Boy, every show was great, but I remember a show we had in the Big Island. It would be my first time to go to the Big Island. I was really excited because one of my missionaries was there. Elder Felix Mahi was his name, and I was anxious to see him and hoping I would see him. And I remember we were on stage. I think Randy was a little sick that night. Because we had to pray for Randy, or you had to get a blessing or something like that. But I remember when we were on stage, we were singing the usual, "He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother," and then I was crying and I could barely sing. And then I looked at Linda and she's crying. I looked at Meliana and she's crying, and I looked at the guys and they're crying. And I'm thinking, where is this? Where's the voice coming from? I couldn't figure out why I could still hear this beautiful, harmonious group. And I could have sworn that it was like the heavens were open and there were angels singing with us. That was my experience anyway, because when I went down and started looking for Elder Mahi, I found him. And that's exactly what he said, and exactly what he experienced was he felt that the windows of heaven were opened. So that's probably one of my most memorable experiences, but I have plenty.
I love that.
How about you, Marilyn?
Well, like Christy, every show was memorable, but I really liked doing the performances at the wards. We did those missionary open houses, and my mom had come to visit, and she actually stayed with me in the dorms, and she came on one of our tours, one of our shows to the Lanakila ward, and it was just a special show. I just remember it being really welcoming and inviting for her, and she felt the spirit too. So she's moved on, she's passed on, we've done her work, and I enjoyed also being in Okinawa. I guess the first show it was at a ward, and one of our friends from BYU Hawaii was there with her parents, and she's a convert too. So that was a special show in Okinawa on our tour. But I remember you were really upset with us at one of our rehearsals, and you just walked out. It's like, whoa, what do we do now? Do we just go home? and then we had this other performance, and I think it was Kevin Kahonui. He was saying, wow, Randy's really mad, but he keeps playing with us, and he keeps playing the piano, and his fingers are like flying across the keyboard, but we have to sing because he's saying louder. It's like, okay, we got to sing louder. And your fingers.
Give me a break. I was 22 years old. I hadn't practiced.
We'll give you a break, Randy. We'll give you a break.
Yet. But I consider you one of my Howley brothers because you took me to the MTC when I went on my mission. I'm really grateful I was able to meet your grandmother and your mom and Karen, of course. And it was just your little sister that she was there. But just being there and having you spend time, being able to share time with your family, that was very, very special. And from there, I have 3 kids, of course, they served missions as well, so I'm grateful for that.
Isn't that
Really
wonderful?
grateful.
So great.
Thank you, Brian. Anything you want to share?
Yeah, we already talked about Kalaupapa, so I won't go there. But one of the most exciting shows were at the Big Island again. We were performing, and it was during the Tahitian section. And I don't know if you remember this. The girls started doing Tahitian, and the drums were going, and then we had the earthquake.
Yeah.
And we thought, what's going on? That doesn't sound like the drums to us. And the building started shaking, and we started running out. And we were the last ones out of that building, I believe. We were trampled by those people on the Big Island. But when we got outside the door, the actual land had a wavy movement to it, and it was exciting and scared at the same time. And
do you remember how all of you guys then went with the children in that school and took care of them, sang with them, played games with them for hours because their parents couldn't get there because of the landslides?
Correct.
And so they were stuck at the school, and you guys just took over like you were supposed to be there. It was your job. I was so proud of the way you just stepped right up and took care of those little kids and comforted them. And they were worried about, when am I going to see my mommy and daddy? And you guys just made it fun. Like it was a big adventure. What great,
and they loved it.
Ambassadors for
and they loved it. And real quick, another show was when right before we went on a tour to the mainland. Remember that you had just come back from your Asian tour, and Buffy and I had put together this group to go to the mainland to perform. It was a Hawaiian group, a Polynesian group, and we put it together, and then we left. Well, we had performed for a group of kids from the mainland who had just arrived there, and we performed, and that's where I met my wife. I saw her there.
Oh my God!
We didn't have any connection until we moved to Idaho. That's where we met. But that was a neat experience to know that she was there when we performed.
That is awesome. That's great.
How about you, Bobby?
For me, I think I'm like Christy and like Marilyn. Like every show we did was just a miracle. And it was amazing because when you look into the audience eyes, and we did a 20-minute family show at the end. And when we performed, and when you look into the audience and you see everybody crying in the audience, and you're thinking, oh, you must be doing something. We must be doing something right. And I remember performing for women's club luncheons, watching their tears roll down after we performed. When we went to prison, all these tough tattooed prisoners trying to cry, but they have to show that they're masculine, so they will put their head up and let the tears kind of rest, and without it falling down, their tears falling down. But every show was just a miracle. It was such a missionary oriented, and the spirit was just so strong at every show, and that's what I enjoyed the most.
Yeah, I agree.
Me too.
Randy,
I'm proud of you.
Randy?
Still proud of you.
Randy, did you have a favorite show?
Oh my gosh. No, I couldn't. There's too many, and too many wonderful showcase members who changed my life. And I'm just grateful for every single one. And I know Heavenly Father is as well. And He's blessed us. He's blessed us for the service that we rendered when we were just kids, singing and dancing together at CCH and at BYU Hawaii. You look at these grandkids and return missionaries, and even families that all their kids have not yet served a mission, or they didn't get married in the temple. It's okay. We're loving our families, and we're teaching them and doing what the Savior would have us do to help them catch a vision of how much we love them and how much the Savior loves them. And that's what's important. So grateful to you. And what a lovely surprise. I'm thrilled that you would take time to jump on with us and to have this chance to just visit together. Very special.
Thank
I
you.
will not
Thank
miss
you,
it, Randy.
Christy. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Brian, for tuning in with us on this special afternoon.
And thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Thank you all.
Well, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about what I did after I left Hawaii
Okay.
with some more students. So
Everybody.
thank you. I'm
Okay.
going to jump back to some of those slides. There's a picture of Joe Ahuna, who went with us on those first couple of tours. And it was really interesting. He came to BYU Hawaii to go to law school when I actually went back to BYU Provo to do my graduate study. And he toured with me that very first year when I was hired to be the new Young Ambassador Artistic Director. And our first year we went to the Soviet Union, and it was kind of an exciting year. President Spencer W. Kimball, whom we had met with Showcase Hawaii when he came to help do the groundbreaking for the Aloha Center. And we gave his wife, I was student body president that year, we gave his wife the, what was that, womanhood, Nahopono something, womanhood award. And so he remembered us from that time, and he kind of watched what we were doing. You can see Linda Tang over on the right, second from the right there on the front. And Joe Ahuna is right there just below her, kneeling down in the front. And both of them went with us to that incredible tour. And he actually described what we were doing in the Soviet Union in a talk that he gave called The Uttermost Parts of the Earth. And I'm just going to read you a little segment of that. It's just really quite amazing. He said, early this summer, our BYU Young Ambassadors Montana televisions Today in Montana. While taping this program, a tourist came into the studio who had just returned from the Soviet Union. Gift to the Montana TV producer, Norma Ashby, from a lady Russian television executive who Norma had hosted in Montana just weeks earlier. The gift arrived right during the 45 minutes that we were in the studio right there in Montana. And Norma promptly asked BYU to take a return gift to her good friend Svetlana when they toured Moscow the very next week, because we had just been talking with her that we were on this little pre-tour in Montana before we went to the Soviet Union. So when we arrived in Moscow, we found Svetlana. That's the blonde there between Joe and I, and talking to some of the students there on the right side, Svetlana Starodomskaya. And she was so excited after seeing the first performance that she canceled everything in the studios the next morning and invited us, because we were scheduled to travel to Kyiv the next afternoon by train. And so we only had the morning, and she scheduled us to come in and tape the entire show in the morning for broadcast on Soviet Central Television, which at the time was the only television in the Soviet Union. It broadcast across 13 time zones, and we reached 150 million people who saw that show. And President Kimball said, "It's a testimony to me that when we're ready, the Lord will use us for his purposes." So then here's the ending to the story. 9 years later, in December of 1987, Mr. Gorbachev came to Washington, D.C. for the very first time to meet with President Ronald Reagan. And on that night, when on the eve of his arrival in Washington, D.C., Soviet Central TV was looking for some program that would be representative of Soviet-American friendship, that they could play prime time on the eve of his arrival. So they went back in their archives and found the Young Ambassador show that Svetlana had taped 9 years earlier in 1978 and rebroadcast that performance prime time throughout the entire Soviet Union on that night that Gorbachev arrived. Talk about miracles.
That's neat.
Linda Tang was there with us, and she went on then the very next year in 79 to go with us to their very first trip to China. And again, President Kimball was, being the prophet that he was, and he was seeing the Spirit of God hovering over the people of China, the billions of people there. And he issued a challenge to President Oaks find a way to get BYU into China. So President Oaks went after it and secured an invitation from the Sino-American Friendship Society in Guam for this group. This would be the first university group to enter China since the 30 years of the Cultural Revolution. Mm-hmm. And so we made preparations. We got invitation and we were just getting ready. And it was crazy, learning Chinese and learning Chinese songs and preparing a show. We'd already done a major tour, and I pulled together a new show after coming back from our regularly scheduled tour, because this happened right at the last minute. And Linda Tang had a premonition that we were going to go to China, but I couldn't say anything. And President Oaks had not said anything about it, but she said, I'm going to do this internship in San Francisco for my graduate program, but I want you to call me when you get the word that you're going to China, because I know it's coming. And I'm going, yeah. At that point, I didn't even know that President Oaks was working on this. And then I found out, and I'm thinking to myself, boy, she's got a direct line to the spirit, because she said we were going to China. And lo and behold, I call her in San Francisco and said, Linda, can you come back? Because we're going to China in like 5 weeks and we need you, since you can speak the language. And so she came back, and that tour was just amazing. But 3 days before departure, we got this telegram. This was the day of telegrams, no emails, telegrams saying, I'm going to read it to you. Please bring only simple musical instruments for possible performances in schools and factories pending approval. Now, this is a complete turnaround from what they had originally said. We had been told that we would perform in major theaters, that we would be doing television programs, that we were going to perform, but they got the list of all the equipment we were bringing, and it scared them. What is this group? They hadn't been hosting any groups from outside of China. And they then pulled it all back and said, no, only bring like a guitar and a couple of little musical instruments, and we'll see if we'll let you perform. Well, we arrived with all of that stuff. And I had told Elder Faust, who was assigned by President Kimball to travel with us, what are we going to do? I'm so worried, He said, Randy, where's your faith? Now, when an apostle says that to you, you kind of go, well, okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll pray. Should we have a prayer? and it was just miraculous that Elder Faust was able to get us a trial performance. You see there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 little gals from the National Minorities Institute. They were like high school age girls who were invited to host us at the National Minorities Institute, our first day in China in 1979. And sitting in front of them are like about 9 or 10 communist officials, all of them dressed exactly in the same Mao jackets. And they were sitting and deciding whether or not we would be able to perform in China in a larger format than just simple little songs on the street corner. After that performance, the lead man in that delegation stood up and said, you will perform tomorrow in the Forbidden City in the Red Tower Theater, the most prestigious theater in Beijing. Wow. And I thought, well, how in the world are they going to get the word around? How will they let people know that there's a show? I didn't understand communist countries at that point. But not only did they get a full audience that next day, but then they asked if we would add a morning and an afternoon matinee. The next day, we did 3 shows in one day, and every one of them full to the brim with about 2,000, 2,500 people in each performance. And wow. Then to top it all off, President Faust had been invited by President Kimball to follow the Spirit, and if he felt so prompted, to rededicate the land of China. So we were there in the Forbidden City where the theater was that we were performing, and Elder Faust said, Randy, would you please gather the students quickly and have them meet in this pagoda you see on the right, the pagoda of the Eternal Springs. And he said, if you could have them do this quickly, because I feel prompted that we need to gather together. And as he invited us in there, he invited one of the young elders from the young ambassadors to stand in each of the doors of the pagoda. And he knelt then as we circled around him in the center of that pagoda. This was, he said, near the original spot where David O. McKay dedicated the land of China in 1921. And as we were surrounding him there, we were privileged to hear these words. He said, "We pray that thou wilt honor and recognize each of the great promises and blessings which President McKay spoke for the future benefit of this people and this great land. Now, Father, through the authority of the Holy Apostleship, I rededicate the land of China for the purposes of a rich harvest unto thee." What an experience. So from that first tour in 1979, BYU and BYU Hawaii returned to China almost every year for 40 years. And in our last big hurrah in 2019, to celebrate that 40-year friendship with the Chinese people, we returned to China, this time with 200 student performers. 200. That's 3 planes that came over. You see them there on the stage. And we performed in 3 cities with major performances in those 3 cities, sellout crowds in everyone, national television on China Central Television. And it was just a testimony to me as I sat there that President McKay's prophecy that he said, from this school will go out men and women who will be privileged to have an influence in the world to bring peace to this world. As we stood there singing, "How ye dwa me li di mo li wa," and the audience, all 3,000 of them, clapped along in unison, I knew that I was doing what the Lord had prepared me to do when I was a young student at BYU Hawaii. It was a privilege then, after my first trip in 1979 to China, to come home and meet the love of my life, Susan Johnson. She believed in the vision that I gained at BYU Hawaii, and she would travel with me then for the next 40 years. In between all of those tours, she taught at BYU School of Management in business communications and in Utah's public schools for 43 years, and created a wonderful home for our 3 children and for our 10 grandchildren. And the year that our son Ross was born, we went to India and met Indira Gandhi. We had a private meeting. We sang for her, and she said this: "The ideas we have in common, which you have so beautifully expressed in such a melodious way, have helped to build bridges with India. My hope is that we may all walk that path of goodwill and brotherhood, both young and old, with hands stretched across the ocean and the continents." It was one of those experiences where, once again, I thought back on that opportunity that I had to be prepared for experiences like this at BYU Hawaii. 1 week later, after our meeting with Indira Gandhi, Elder Howard W. Hunter met with her in a follow-up visit, traveling, meeting her again with Elder Horace Hayes, who's standing right there to the right of Indira Gandhi. And he formally established the Indian Society of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints just 1 week after we had been singing to her, which allowed the church to formally proselytize. So I know we're getting very close to the end, but I just like to say that life has been full. I have had so many opportunities to represent the church, Faith in Every Footstep in 97, the Sesquicentennial in Cougar Stadium with a cast of 5,000, 3,000 missionaries, the Olympics at church headquarters in the LDS Conference Center, and now I'm on the board of One Voice Children's Choir with my good buddy, Bob Yakoy, and I get to see him even if it's on Zoom. We're going to eventually get together on some of these meetings live and in person. But I'm just so grateful as I look at my life that the joy that I've experienced, the opportunities that have come because of BYU Hawaii. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this rare privilege of being able to reflect upon my life and realize how grateful I am for that preparation that I received as a student there with you, Bobby, and with all of the good friends that are listening in. I love you all.
Thank you so much, Randy.
Wow.
This has been such a special episode that we're doing, and you have impacted so many students' lives, not only at BYU Hawaii and Church College of Hawaii, but many in the past 40 years at BYU Provo. And I know they sing praises of you. They are so grateful for you and preparing them for their life career, whichever they may be. But you have been such a light and a great example to all of us. And we're just so grateful that we can still reminisce and we can still feel the spirit through our friendship. And I know many that are listening or tuning in with us. You know, I know they're looking back at all the great memories that they had at CCH and at BYU Hawaii. Do you have anything you want to say?
I was just gonna say, I'm just amazed, Randy, that you were so young when you started, and to be a leader and to take on all of these, students that were also your classmates, at school, and organize this group and do all of the amazing things that you did. It sounds to me like it was a lot of missionary work. And besides promoting BYU Church College of Hawaii, BYU Hawaii,
It was an honor and a privilege and an unusual opportunity. I can't believe that I was provided with that opportunity, but it was the best education ever. And the love that I feel for the friends, the students that I've been privileged to rub shoulders with, the colleagues, the faculty colleagues, is just enormous. My life is fantastic and beautiful because of those rich relationships. And I love them still and will always love them. So great for this opportunity to express that love.
We love you too, Randy, and we wish you the best as you continue to serve on the Utah State Board of Education. I know I said this before, but I thought you were crazy to do it. But but if anybody can do something like that, Randy Boothe is the man.
That's right.
And besides that, being on the board for the One Voice Children's Choir as well. And I know you're keeping very busy, but you're still continuing to shine that light like you did many, many years ago while we were here at Church College of Hawaii. So thank you for being with us today. Thank you for sharing your wonderful experiences. Thank you for sharing your light.
Yes, thank you, Randy. It's such a pleasure to meet you. I've heard so much about you. I think I may have met you briefly before, but I've just heard so many things about you. And now I've seen a lot of what has happened with all of your efforts and good work here on campus and also at BYU Provo. And it's amazing to me. I think I'd love to see a reunion, Bobby and Randy. I'd love to see a showcase.
Wouldn't that be great?
Reunion one of these days, and have you folks perform for all of us if that could still happen. And
well, we did it once, right? We did it in 2005.
We did. Okay, well, we might be coming over this next year sometime. Maybe we better look at that timing and see if we can get a reunion, happening around that time, and at least the ones that are still there in the islands. But I mean, who in the world would not want to come over to the islands if they knew there was a reunion? So everybody on the mainland, Brian, I know you'll be over there. I know Chris, you'll be over there. So let's get a date and all meet in paradise. All right.
Speaking of reunions, Bobby, we're planning one in November to let you know. This is probably the first time we're really getting the word out. But the first weekend in November, the Hawaii chapter, Bobby, Richie Norton, and others are helping to plan this reunion for Hawaii. But also, I know we're going to have others that will come.
We're still inviting everybody else that wants to come. If you're from the mainland, if you're from, Asia, you're still invited to come.
Yeah, it'll be the
first weekend of November is a great time to leave the snow behind.
And Food Fest is on a part of that weekend, which is why we're also gathering at that time. So there could be a lot of fun happening.
That's great.
Okay.
Well, thank you again, Randy. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in with us on this special episode with Randy Boothe. We want to wish everybody a big aloha and a happy Easter to you as well, Randy, and to everybody else. Thank you for chiming in.
Thank you.
Thank
My
you.
love to all of my surprise showcasers that thrilling.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, well, we'd like to thank you, Bobby and I, for joining us this afternoon on this Aloha Friday podcast with Randy Boothe and friends. We had a great reminiscing. For me, it was wonderful to listen to all of the wonderful memories that were shared. Just as a recap, we have some podcasts coming up this coming weekend, this coming Monday with Elder and Sister McCarty, our missionaries here in Ho'okele. They teach on-campus internships to our students, brought that program. It was inspired, and they brought that program from Provo here to Hawaii to help our students. They'll be talking to us on Monday at 3 p.m. Hawaii time. And then on Friday next week, our Aloha Friday guest will be Api Tora from Fiji, who will be featured, one of our alumni there, and he'll be sharing some experiences as well. And finally, again, Bobby, why don't you give a shout out?
To our graduates, right?
Yes.
Congratulations to and all those that worked with me at PCC. Congratulations to you. So it's a Saturday, April 16th. So join live streamed event on the BYU Hawaii YouTube channel. And also this coming weekend is Easter. So we wish all of you a happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
And we love you guys.
Love you all. Have a great Aloha Friday, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care and aloha.